Hello and welcome to the Prepare to Compete podcast. We provide resources for veteran benefits, real estate, and more. Kenneth Davis, how you feeling today, my brother?
Man, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Definitely been able to touch the ground, speak and help a lot of veterans this week. I've been able to have the opportunity to serve the community, and really just hit the ground running, man. I feel amazing this year.
Absolutely, man. Great year, man. Love getting the year started right. We definitely, serving the veterans and we serving a lot of education and information. And that's what we're trying to do today, man. We're trying to educate on a lot of topics. We're actually going to focus a bit on education. We're going to talk about permanent and total disability benefits, and Mr. Davis is going to break down what that means, and Chapter 35, getting into educational benefits that way, and also talk a little bit of real estate talk because I am here and I am the real estate guru here for Las Vegas, and we definitely gotta cover this wild real estate market on what's going on with that, and
I
just a
know.
little. Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. And just a little bit more about, what's going on in this whole workforce development space as a whole, man, because, right now they might not want to call it a recession, but shh, we in a recession, right? So we want to talk about that and what people are doing financially and just how they can kind of help themselves. So a great show we have for them today, Mr. Davis. What are you thinking?
Yes, sir, man. Man, don't use the R word too loosely now. May cause a panic. We don't want to do that now. So, I think that's what the upper leadership is having around Mister. We don't want to throw out no names. We're only a small YouTube show. Don't want to throw out any names. But yeah. So with that being said, man, I just feel as though that again, having this opportunity to educate you guys is always going to be able to one fulfill my passion, my mission, and also we're able to make sure that all of our veterans community is being serviced, but also not only the veteran community, but anyone, family members, friends, or just civilians alike would even like any of this information. We would always want to serve. So, man, yeah, I just want to hop into it. Want to hop into it, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. We're gonna get right into it. And when we talking about, the real estate and the financial crisis that's going on, we really want to find ways for people to kind of increase their financial presence, right? And be able to support their families because, groceries are up, people complaining about gas prices and that sort of thing. So now I noticed with Veterans for Veterans, you're actually able to help people with their service connected disability benefits. And now I was
hmm
hearing some things about you actually being able to have 100% service connection and you actually still be able to work. So can you explain how that process works for our veteran community?
Yeah, yeah, man. Most definitely. Just to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, things are getting kind of pricey out here, man. Those eggs are killing people, right?
Oh man, don't
But
even
yeah,
talk to me about the eggs, man. I just left some eggs in the car, and my wife charging me
uh,
$16 to replace the eggs,
man, you got to run back to the store.
wasting
But
gas
yeah,
on top of that.
Uber Eats is always good, you know. Uber may have to pay for that. But anyway, but yeah, with that being said, man, I'm glad you brought that up. So yeah, I did mention that you do have the ability to actually have employment and still be able to utilize your benefits, okay, because that's an ultimate goal. You also want to be able to have some type of liquid income and also be able to work if you choose, because some veterans are incapacitated to the point where they cannot work, right? But some aren't they're not totally disabling. So if you're not totally disabling, it gives you access to still be able to work. So being totally disabling would put you in a position where that you have no function and you have applied for unemployability, basically meaning that you cannot work due to your disabilities. Okay, and there's criteria in regards to when you can actually apply for that. And we'll go ahead and break down that criteria in another video. But currently, it's basically 100% where you can work, 100% disability benefits and you can work, and 100% disability benefits and you can't work. So you can't work meaning unemployability. You don't have the ability to earn gainful employment due to your service connected disabilities. Okay,
Got it. Got it.
so but for obviously the other 100%, what that means is that all your disabilities have become evaluated through the scheduler, okay, a scheduler evaluation of 100%. Basically, all your conditions has added up to 100% disability, okay. However, if you're not incapacitated and you still can work and earn, earn income for yourself, you can still do so, okay. And that's just 100% disabled, service connected veteran.
Okay, got it, got it. So now, when the veterans are going through the process and they're applying for this, how do they
Mhm.
know which one they're going to be awarded? Whether they are going to be eligible to work or not going to be eligible to work?
So that's a good question. So with that, there's two different forms that you're going to be filling out. For individual unemployability, that's a form 21 TAC 8940. Okay, that's individual unemployability, where you will be requesting specifically unemployability. Okay, you need to differentiate which option that you're going after. Okay, so I want you to always remember that again, the VA will if mentioning that you're unemployed, they will go ahead and solicit information and send you a 8940 if you choose to apply for unemployability.
Got it.
However, you need to make sure that you specifically fill out a form 21 TAC 8940 for individual unemployability to request that service. I mean, to request those benefits,
Got it.
okay, under unemployability.
Got it. Okay. So now I know we have a lot of veterans that would definitely like to get to that 100% and still work. So
Mhm.
they'll make sure that they fill out the appropriate form to do that. And now,
Mhm.
typically, what would they be? So I guess what will be the difference in the conditions they're applying for, or is there any kind of red flags where if I'm applying and I say I still want to work, and let's say I have PTSD, right? Would that
Yeah.
get me to they might say, well, no, you have a lot of issues going on, and make it where I can't work.
So, particularly, there isn't a condition that results you in not having the ability to work unless requested. Okay.
Okay, got it.
So, say for instance, if you have PTSD or if you have amputated,
Yeah, that was the next one I
amputated,
was gonna say. Yep.
you know, yeah, amputated limb up to the knee, if you still have the ability to earn income and be gainfully employed, that's no problem. You still can always go to work. Okay. However, there are some veterans who are confined almost to their home. Okay. So they're confined to their home to the point where they cannot work due to PTSD, right? Or due to the amputation. So, with that being said, at that point, if they have particularly filled out and utilize the form 21 TAC 8940 to fill out your unemployability, what then happens is that you fall under that criteria. However, it's a little tricky. There's a little caveat there that we always want to kind of navigate. And again, we can always talk about those caveats in detail if you ever give us a call.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Now that's some pretty heavy stuff, man, and that's why you always want to try to hopefully have somebody in your corner when you're going out and you are filling this paperwork out, because one wrong move can be the result of you not actually getting what you need.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It actually can be very detrimental to the claim. And again, this is why it's very important that you understand going throughout this process. A subject matter expert is advised, not required, but is advised.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, that's great, Mr. Davis, for sure. The information's on the screen. Veterans for Veterans, uh, Vets for Vets Consultant.com. Reach out, get an appointment. Mr. Davis and his team would love to assist you guys with your benefits, or even just asking any questions and really kind of helping
Please.
navigate. You might be at a point where you just needed a couple questions asked and you may not need the service. They're happy to do a free consultation to get you where you need to be.
Most definitely, most definitely. Please, we're here to service the community at all capacities, and we want to be able to ultimately put you in a position of success.
Great, man. Reach out to the team. Let's get it. All right, that's great information, man. That's great information. So now, when you get 100% service connected as a veteran, now would that automatically be for the rest of my life where I have that benefit, or how would that actually work?
Man, that's a good question. So, typically, generally, it is for the rest of your life. If they've made the determination that you are service connected, and this disability has resulted from military service, they're going to pretty much, it's a chronic issue. That's kind of the determination. It's a chronic issue. Typically, it's going to be a chronic issue because of the onset that has transpired. It's going to be a chronic issue, and it's a continuation. It does it typically as we get older, without even with treatment and proper treatment, it's going to get worse over time. Things wax and wane, and we have to understand that. But with that being said, specifically, if we're talking about permanent and total, and having an issue to be in permanency, this is what we're striving for. Okay, the continuance of chronic issues. Okay. And this is what we're always striving for. We're always striving for, again, maximum percentages, but also maximum disability percentage in a fashion of permanent and total. And permanent and total specifically means that your disability is not has no room for improvement, and that it's going to be a chronic disability. Okay, even with manifestations in that actual disability, it's going to be chronic over time. So, with that, typically you'll be compensated for one the rest of your life. Okay, every single month, in a tax-free fashion.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So yeah. So when I get that 100%, I want to make sure that they rated me for permanent and total, so that that benefit can be continuous and it won't be re-examined and I have to get recertified for that benefit.
Exactly, exactly. So, because if you do not, what happens is that you can have a future examination, right? That future examination, the examiner that you particularly seen could be a different examiner than you've already seen before, right? So now this examiner has, again, a mere different opinion, a different medical opinion than the previous examiner. And now, with that being said, you can have a reduction, right? A reduction in benefits. And now, you have deemably moved from 100% scheduler evaluation to 80% or to
Wow.
70% or
Got you.
90%, whatever it falls in. Okay. So, with that, or it could just be, again, many of these issues that are chronic in nature wax and wane, they come and go. So you could have had a day that you were just, feeling a little bit better, right? We're typically, you're not in chronic pain every day, all day, but we understand it is an ailment that comes and goes. So if you are being examined by a CMP examiner, at this point, what happens is that examiner could say, "Oh, you're feeling better. I don't think you're having these issues." Well, it's up to the veteran to make sure that the examiner knows that it's just a little bit better that day.
Hmm.
Okay, but it's very hard to convey that message, not being in a space of vulnerability. So if they
Absolutely.
don't convey the message, you can get a bad medical opinion, a bad examiner, and now you have a bad determination.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
For sure.
and at that point, it will be able to reduce your benefits.
Right. And we definitely don't want that, because in another episode, we actually went over that pay scale, and 100% down to 90, 80, 70. It can be a very steep drop where it literally cuts your monthly benefits and compensation in half. And when you talk
Yes, sir.
about actually using this to actually fund taking care of your family, it's very important to try to maintain that and have that consistent balance.
Yeah, I mean, most veterans they actually utilize these funds to, use that compensation to take care of their family, and unfortunately, not only take care of their family but take care of themselves because it's not an easy transition coming from a space of being a soldier or sailor or airman to civilian to being in a civilian sector. It's a very difficult transition for most, and I don't think there's enough highlighted on that. So, utilizing these benefits is very impactful for that veteran and their family. And ultimately, you earn these benefits. This is an earned opportunity and benefit for you and your family. But ultimately, you have to desire to go after them. It's just, again, many veterans have been years and years and years without benefits, and it's your turn to be able to reap what you deserve.
Absolutely. No, that's great. And I like how you bring up the families as well. And I know in our next segment, stay tuned, we're going to be talking about Chapter 35 benefits and what that means for veterans and their families. So stay tuned for our next segment. We'll get right into it. All right, now great information, great veteran issues that we're talking about now. And when we get
Mhm.
into the dependents, and a lot of veterans, of course, they have the GI Bill for themselves. Now, what kind of benefits are out there for veterans that actually help their spouse and their children that are looking to pursue post secondary education?
Wow. So yeah, man. There's actually a few different opportunities. And again, we can kind of get in the crux of things, when we come up with a detailed plan. Typically we come up with a detailed plan and action plan for that particular veteran, right? But I'm going to kind of talk about one, right? The GI Bill is more or less a Department of Education benefit, right? I mean, DoD, Department of Education. That's who it pretty much goes through and talk about allocation of funding and different things of that nature. But when we're talking about the Dependent Educational Assistance Program, DEA, Chapter 35, that is more or less a VA directed program, okay, a VA directed program. So let's keep that in mind. All right. What it is specifically, it is if you're 100% permanent and total rated, you can actually receive uh, education benefits for your spouse and dependents. For your spouse and dependents. So they'll be able to do higher education, right? Training, higher education. So colleges, it doesn't matter if it's online or not. You can still be able to, as long as it's listed within an accredited education institution, right? You also have trade schools, right? You can actually utilize it for trade schools, and you can actually utilize it for on-the-job training. A lot of veterans don't know that. So if you're training and you can log your hours, you can actually use it as a Chapter 35 benefit. Let's say you're in some type of again, they call it OJT in the military, or I'm sorry, OJT in the Navy. I don't want to say all across military, right? But on the job training. So if you're, having this a mentor or some type of training organization that is actually assisting you to learn a skill set, they'll actually pay you for those hours logged. Okay. So with this program, it is actually a really incredible program. It was specifically designed for many members of the military who would pass away in service or different things of that nature. But it kind of transcended over to things of this to 100% veterans, right? But with that, there's also some restrictions. There's also some restrictions, right? Spouses are and surviving spouses, and I always want to make sure that we mention surviving spouses because again, those families are devastatingly affected for the rest of their life. And again, our prayers and honors goes out to them. Um, but with that being said, DEA is accountable for many personnel in regards to spouses and dependents. Okay, generally, spouses and surviving spouses have. I'm sorry. Generally, spouses have about 10 years, right? 10 years. before, again, the benefits have been exhausted from the date of the effective date that that veteran has become permanently in total, permanent in total. So from that effective date, thereon, that's when um, that's when they have their eligibility up to 10 years. But children, right, dependents have from them being 18 all the way up into the age of 26. It's a little different from different things such as healthcare. A lot of cutoffs are 24 years old, right? But this one in particular is 26 year of age. One great thing about that, I want you to understand that though it is 26, the spouse, that child can even be married and still receive this Chapter 35 benefit. So that's a particular benefit that we always want to kind of uncover and unlock. So that's amazing, right? But also it can be extended, right? Typically for surviving spouses typically have, 20 years from the effective date to utilize the benefits. So there's many caveats among this. Again, when we talk about DEA, we're not only speaking about the veterans who are only disabled permanently and totally. We're also talking about, again, unfortunately, the veterans have passed away while in service as well, which goes into obviously who's eligible, right? A veteran who's died or is permanently totally disabled because of service connected disability. That's our first one, right? But we also want to go ahead and recognize, they said, who has died, okay, who has passed away, who's died, and that's very important there. A veteran who's died from any causes from service-connected disability. Okay, so if you pass away from a service-connected disability, those benefits are then transferred over to dependent and spouse. We also want to take notice of that, and that's another program. We'll speak about that at another time. The IC program, we'll talk about that at a later date. But I'm sure, again, with my maestro here, we'll be able to put up another video so we can go ahead and get you guys that information. But with that, service member missing in action or captured in the line of duty, right? Or captured in the line of duty when hostile force. Unfortunately, we don't give enough credit or speak about enough prisoners of war, right? Prisoners of war. There's been so many. There's been so many soldiers, sailors, and airmen, and and again, unfortunately, has been captured or by hostile force, and unfortunately, those people, those families are affected. They're affected forever. So we always want to kind of make sure that we understand that those people there get the recognition as well. Um, you know. Next, also, service member forcibly detained or interned in the line of duty by a foreign government or power. We actually had a civilian as of late that was captured in Russia. Brittany Griner, Brittany Griner was there for months, over some marijuana. So with that, again, I don't want to get into the details of the story because I don't want to misquote anything. But again, she was captured for a pretty long while. So we don't want to discount and act like that doesn't happen. It happens more often than not. We just are kind of not in the know of it, right? Also, a service member hospitalized or receiving outpatient care for a VA determined service connected condition, permanent and total disability, right? Again, that's another reasoning why you can actually receive this as well. So, with that being said, Chapter 35 is a huge benefit, and I know with this huge benefit, we have many questions on how much do you receive. That's kind of the looming question, right? So, with that, there's different criteria for different criteria for different institutions that you'll be going to. So we talk about higher education institution. That's going to provide you 1401, right? $1,400 a month. Okay, so they're going to directly send that over to again the dependent or spouse that they'll receive to be able to pay that college tuition there. One, and again, I do want to go ahead and mention there's a huge caveat there as well. So, say for instance, again, we want to get to the nooks and crannies of things. You guys always can give us a call where we can be able to talk a little bit more about it. But say, for instance, if you're going to out of state college, right? If you're going to out of state college, what happens if you, again, majority of schools, if you're going to out of state college, the majority of schools will be able to provide that a dependent or spouse with in-state tuition, and then at that point you'll still be utilizing that chapter 35 benefit for the 1401 a month. Okay, so that's a big savings. So if you're going if you live in Las Vegas and your child for some odd reason didn't want to go to UNLV, the running rebels, go rebels.
Let's
Okay.
go.
If they, yeah, if they didn't want to go there and they wanted to go, I don't know, let's the University of Michigan, right? Which I don't know who would want
Who
to do
wants to
that.
go to the
But
cold?
anyway, but that child will deemably receive in-state tuition instead of out-of-state tuition to be able to go to that college. Okay, when they'll be able to receive the 1401.
No, that's huge. That's huge. So it's almost like the if you're using those military programs, you have like a special rate, right? You're gonna be able to
Hmm.
get that lowest rate of that in-state tuition, which is
Hmm.
uh, the most advantage pricing that you can get. So that's a
For
huge
sure.
savings there.
For sure, for majority of colleges, I don't want to speak for all. Obviously every college has again a counselor that can provide you more information amongst that, so obviously reach out to your college advisor to make sure that you're taking advantage of that. Okay, but also there's also such opportunities such as trade schools. College is becoming a teeter, right? To see if if I want to go, if I don't want to go, and the pendulum is swinging, right? So
Right.
with that being said, we want to talk about all obviously trade schools as well. With trade schools, you receive the same amount of benefits. You receive the same amount of benefits as you would if you were going to a higher education institution. So that same 1401 that you receive, that's what you receive as well. Okay. But there's also opportunities obviously with the on the job training, as I mentioned before. On the job training, logging those hours, which again, there's so many different apprenticeships out there that people pass on because they aren't getting paid and they have bills.
Mhm.
This can actually supplement some of that income, if not all of it, for you to utilize with Chapter 35. So if you have a child that is wanting to, I don't know, go to fashion school, but they're interning and for this company, well, they can utilize Chapter 35, and now they'll be able to receive the 890 a month. Okay, they'll be able to receive the 890 a month. So we want to make sure. But I will tell you, that's for full time. Okay,
Mhm.
that's for full time, including the 1401. Each one is a different layer, right? If you're going, whether if you're going half time, full time, quarter time, different things of that nature, they all change. Okay, but for these are all full time amounts.
Got it.
Okay,
Got it.
so it'll be 890.
Absolutely. And
All
then
right.
as may know, each college and depending on how it works, they're going to look at the full-time equivalency different based on whether they're on a semester system or quarter system. So definitely check with the school on how many credits you actually have to be enrolled in to qualify for that. But it sounds like it might be similar to because some of the veterans know they probably use the GI Bill and they might have as their own veteran or even when they were enlisted they might have used some educational benefits and got basic housing allowance and different things like this. So it sounds like
Mhm.
through this program that same type of benefit is able to be passed down to your spouse and dependents.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's why it's always pays to be informed, because a lot of these veterans, what typically a lot of people transfer their GI Bill down to their child and different things of that nature. When then you can actually still go ahead and be trained for your second career if you choose. There's so many different avenues, again, so many different allocations of funding to be able to put yourself in the best position to get the highest amount of benefits. So, with that being said, we want to ultimately make sure that, again, that many of these veterans have the information and the know-how to be able to put yourself in the best position possible.
Absolutely. No, that's great. That's great. So, last question for you. Now, I know we went over the eligibility and different things for their spouse and dependents to qualify for these benefits. Now, how is there like an application, or do they have to be? Does the veteran had to have been service connected in order for them to qualify? And if they have to be service connected, is there a certain percentage they had to be service connected?
So for the DEA program, yes, you have to be 100%
Right.
service connected. That is kind of the criteria. It's not only 100% service connected, it's 100% permanent and total, because
Okay.
as we kind of already mentioned, there's so many different I guess, looming, kind of avenues on how to receive the benefits, but you have to be permanent in total. So if you're not permanent in total, you're not going to be able to receive this benefit. And when I mean by permanent in total, you also can be granted individual unemployability. That individual unemployability is considered permanent in total as long as you're obviously registering every single year. But which I believe they've got rid of that through registration of every year. It's on an annual basis. I believe it's a different type of registration access now, which again, we'll go ahead and kind of have another video on
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. So then, another question in relation to this. So I know sometimes with, I hear you speak about veterans you work with. You're actually able to help spouses and dependents actually apply for service connection on behalf of a deceased veteran, right? So let's say the veteran, of course, is deceased and they weren't 100% service connected. Could the spouse and our dependent apply for the 100% permanent and total and then get that benefit after that allocation is awarded?
Man, I guess this is why you do what you do, right? These are the questions that people want to know, right? So with that, you have to kind of, if they're, again, the veteran is deceased. There's obviously where you need to apply for DIC, because now the DIC, which we're going to go ahead and kind of get into that a little bit later, and I just want to use the acronym because I don't want to go into it fully, right? You have to apply for that, which we'll have a later video that you guys can check out about that. And then at that point, the benefits will then be deemably transferred. But it's very important on the DIC program, making sure that certain things are documented. And unfortunately, once a deceased veteran kind of goes down the pathways, most families are not thinking about this stuff. But you must take consideration of it. But again, like I said before, we'll talk about those in a later
Okay.
video. But you know, once you get that approved, at that point, all of those benefits for the Chapter 35 will be offered to you.
Absolutely. Great, great. Okay, so that's really good to know. So if the veteran was, deceased in the line of active duty or for any reason, and you have to apply for that service connection after the veteran is no longer here, you're still able to maximize and get all of these different benefits. That's really a wonderful thing that the uh, VA is doing, and it's great to really have that information and resources.
Most definitely, most definitely. When you're applying for that, you can obviously do it online, but also there's a form that you can utilize as well, because obviously navigating some of those things could be difficult, because obviously we're still dealing with the government's websites and systems where, again, it goes down. It's not the best sometimes, and sometimes it works perfectly. But the 22 TAC 5490, that is the form that you would utilize for Chapter 35 for your DEA benefits.
Absolutely. Great. Great information. We'll actually link that form below in the comments here. And also, the description, rather. We'll actually link that form in the description. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Or also, you can definitely reach out to Mr. Davis and his team individually. Information's on the screen as far as the website. Set up that consultation. A lot of high level information has been provided today, and we want to kind of filter through that and really determine your exact situation. So you definitely want to set up a consultation to get all your individual questions answered. But if you want to just have it more on an open forum, comment down below. We can definitely help you out with some basic questions, and you all ultimately might be helping other veterans too that might have that same question. So never feel too bad to comment and ask a question, because no question is too silly, and they're all worth our time to get back to you to answer those questions.
Most definitely, and again, and we're in the comment box answering questions continuously. We never want to leave any comment unturned, right? So ultimately, we try to get to everyone in a timely fashion. But again, you also can, give us a call. Again, visit the website to schedule an appointment. Anything of that nature, we'll love to go ahead and reach out to you to go ahead and get that scheduled. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, tune into the next segment. We're actually going to be talking more about education in general, right? And just the decision for veterans and their families to really pursue higher education. What's the best avenues and programs? So tune in that next segment. We'll see you soon. Peace.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so now we're going to get into the real estate portion of the day. And specifically, we're going to talk about this crazy Las Vegas housing market, man. I know, Kenneth, man, we need to try to get you out here in a property, man, but the market's crazy right now.
Man, we're working on it, right? Definitely looking in properties in Vegas. We love Vegas ultimately, but we're also our job. We're one helping veterans 24/7. So anywhere we can be where the veterans are, that's where we want to be. But also we want to make sure that we're helping the housing issue for homeless veterans. So providing transitional housing has been one of our pillars and missions that we have enacted this year. So we're really taking that on head first and making sure that, again, our veterans are being taken care of.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a project that I know is near and dear to your heart, man. And we definitely want to do what we can to enact that in Las Vegas and in Southern California and throughout the country, man, to really build a pipeline to help homeless veterans. Because with these service connected disability benefits, and many of them actually been eligible for that, they really shouldn't be homeless to begin with. But that's a whole nother video that we gonna get into at another day, man. We got to get these folks off the street.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. But how can we get people housed in general, right? And you have a lot of generic information out here where people are saying, "Oh, the real estate market is crazy. I'm gonna wait." It's like, well, wait a minute. Well, you've been waiting forever. Like when you really think about it, you've been waiting for a while, and it's never going to be a perfect time. Either you're going to say the interest rates are too high or the prices are too high, different things like that. But we're here to really help you navigate through all this information, man, and really just kind of make some understanding of it. So I was looking at a review journal article, and I was just talking about the Las Vegas market. And I run across a lot of people at events and different places I'm at, and they're like, "Oh, it's too expensive to buy a home." And look at this article here. Now, again, don't believe
Mm-hmm.
everything you read, right? But look at this article as it's titled, Las Vegas home prices lost all of the gains from 2022, right? So what that
Mm-hmm.
means is it might be a lot more affordable to purchase a home right now than you actually might think. So you definitely want to look at that. So we can go into the article, and the article is basically talking about how the prices have tumbled, right? So, during the pandemic, man, it was a lot of people just buying up Vegas, investors,
Mm-hmm.
retail buyers. Mr. Davis here was buying up some stuff out here in the market, and the prices went up because of it, man. So
Mm-hmm.
It was ridiculous, but we're actually losing some of that traction right now based on what they're telling us here in this article. And there's a lot of slowdown. So, hey, Kenneth, man, if you're trying to get that house, man, right now might be a good time for you.
Well, I'm just trying to wait on the market to cool down a little bit more, and then find the right time. I want to hit it when it hits the bottom. But I'm sure you hear enough of that, right?
I hear that so often. It's like, man, if I had that crystal ball to know when it was going to hit the bottom, I would try to get it that way as well. But it's a marathon,
Mhm.
and I mean, don't you want to buy more than one property, right? So,
Of course, yeah.
absolutely. So I mean, think about it like your stock portfolio, right? Are you just buying, waiting for Apple or Tesla or whatever you're buying to get to the lowest it's been? Or you buying a little bit right now? It could drop some more. You buy some more. It drops some more. You keep buying some more, right? That's a strategy a
Mhm.
lot of investors use.
Most definitely. Just dollar cost averaging, bringing your price points down, and I mean, just having a collection of real estate in that portfolio would always offset, losses.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now we want to get into the article, and what we want to look at is the median home price. Okay, so we're talking about the
Mhm.
median home price. It's very important that to really understand what that means, because there's no one size fit all with that definition. And I'll tell you why. It's because sometimes people put in there condos and townhomes and high rises and different things like that, right? Mainly condos
Mhm.
and high rises. So it looks like, based on this calculation, in this article, they took out the condos and high rises. They kind of skew the value a lot of times, because sometimes you might see the median home price and somebody could tell you it's 475 right now, and like, oh, these guys don't know what they're talking about. That's because it depends on how you actually run the numbers. So you got to understand how people are running those numbers. Okay,
I
so
hope you took a statistics class. Like,
right,
these
exactly,
numbers aren't
exactly.
always what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so they're saying the median home price in Vegas is 425,000. So, Kenneth, what would that buy you in San Diego?
Hold on. I'm still looking. I'm still checking Zillow. I don't think nothing populate.
Right, yeah. So definitely, if you're trying to buy a house for that price in San Diego, good luck to you, right? So we're talking about median home price. What we're looking at is what it's going to cost you to buy the average three
Mhm.
bedroom, 2.5 bathroom, 2 car garage property in Vegas, right? So that's essentially what the average of that. You're going to be somewhere around that 425,000 to purchase one of those properties. So it's actually been down, right, from the November numbers. And when we start looking at it year over year, we're actually seeing some good trends of where it was before and where it's at now. So there's actually a lot of good signs to say. It's like, well, you was waiting on the market to fall. Here it is,
It's
right?
your opportunity. The opportunity is now. I mean, there was a lot of millionaires created when we had the last R word. Like I said before in last video, I don't want to press too hard on that, but there's a lot of opportunity out here. I think you're kind of hitting the nail on the head when we're talking about the opportunity to purchase. We kind of lean into the I guess the mantra, the right time. Well, we have a subject matter expert here telling everyone, well, time is now.
Time is now, absolutely. The time is, and it's almost always now. Just really depending on what you're looking to buy. Like, literally, you can make sense of buying a year ago because of the interest rates were real low. You can make sense of
Hmm.
buying now because the prices are a lot lower. But
Hmm.
the advantage that you have right now is that there's a lot of inventory. So if you look at the article, they say it's about 6,200 homes on the market here in Las Vegas, which is, if you're comparing that to where it was last year around that time, it's really tripled the amount of homes. There were typically, in that height of that pandemic boom, less than 2,000 homes on the market. So you have a lot more to choose from right now. So basically, the reason why prices are falling is because there's a lot more inventory and not enough people out here shopping to buy homes.
Can I? So let me ask a question. So, one, obviously, I'm not in the Vegas market. I'm more or less in the San Diego market. So, here in San Diego, there's a fair amount of transitional people, right? Transitory people, just due to the fact military's here. There's a large military population. Now, is Vegas something of that nature that could affect the home pricing, or is that something that we take into account?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. That's a great question. So, yeah, people come and go in Las Vegas a lot as well. I mean, obviously people move here. They think they could deal with the heat of Las Vegas. And we're not just talking about the weather, right? We're talking about just being in the environment where you have casinos and 24-hour nightlife, may not be conducive to a lot of experience and marriages and different things being successful. So some people move here and they quickly relocate to other places for greener pastures because in Vegas, we have a higher unemployment rate, different things like that, where you may have some opportunities elsewhere that cause a lot of people to leave just as soon as they start pouring in.
That's good information. And also, I would take consideration of also, on the positive side of things, there's no state tax for a lot of retirees and also the veteran community. Thinking about it in that aspect of things, you have no property tax out there, right? So
Absolutely.
that's another aspect. So if you're a retiree, no property tax, maybe you can deal with the heat and the casino.
Right, yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely, no, you hit the nail on the head there because pretty much Nevada, Florida, Texas are three places where a lot of retirees go to retire because of the no state tax and because when you're older, you want to be in some warmer climate and you don't want to deal with the cold and different things like that. So you're not as concerned about how good the school district is and different things like that. And of course, you're not concerned about the employment. So if you are looking to retire, Las Vegas is a very good community for that. You can buy some traditional one story homes, but we also have a lot of 55 and up retirement communities here as well, where you can actually get a huge discount on living in those communities if you do qualify based on your age. So a lot of retirees do that and are able to create like real good communities, man, because they have swimming pools and different fitness classes and all of that, and it's filled with retirees, and you're able to, not feel like you're by yourself. If you are just a single person, or if you're married, it's not just you and your spouse being here, but you have a whole community of people if you're moving here as a retiree.
Well, let me ask you. So, do they include that those home prices within the median home value? As sometimes they can't be purchased. You can purchase some of those properties.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's a good question, and so those properties are listed on the MLS. So if you're working with a realtor like myself and you're searching specifically for those properties, I can create you a search of just homes in communities that are 55 and up. But when we look
Mhm.
at the assessment of the median home price, that's another segment where they're going to not include those homes part of that 6,200 because not everybody is able to buy those homes. That's more of a special interest. So that's something that might be segmented out of the total here, but that can
Mhm.
be a population of homes that I can help you find exclusively here in Las Vegas.
Understood. Okay, great.
Absolutely. But yeah, so it's like, why did the home prices drop, right? So, as we know, 2021, there are a lot of stimulus money and different things in the market. So, the people had a lot of money to spend. So they were buying properties, they were investing in real estate, they were investing in the stock market. And now we're seeing a steep decline of that. So, and with that decline, we're also having the issue of trying to fix inflation. And now the interest rates are a whole lot higher than they were a year ago, man. So Kenneth, that's making it. a little bit tougher to be a buyer in this market, but there's pretty much a solution for everything, right? So if we even use this article as a guide, you definitely want to check it out. Is that, you know, the record number of homes have fallen from actual 400 482,000. It was May. In my chart that I have, I had it at 485, but they close enough with the 482. So I give them credit for that, man. So it's
Few
definitely
numbers, bro.
down.
Just write it off. Just
Yeah,
write off
yeah,
a
just
few
write it off. It's like we all calculate the numbers a little differently, but they close enough to the numbers I had. So, you know, at the height it was 482 is what they're saying here, down 57,000. So again, if you're looking to
numbers.
get a deal, here's the deal for you. Are the interest rates higher? Yes, they are. The article is also mentioning that it was up to about almost 6.5%, which that interest rate is also going to depend on your credit worthiness and different things, because I'm seeing some people actually getting in the 7% for their initial interest rate. But you do have a lot of programs right now where you can do 2-to-1 buy down options and start off with the lower rate and then it goes up. So if the interest rate is a problem for you, there's a lot of different options where, because there's so much inventory, as they mentioned in this article, you can actually have the seller pay some of your closing costs, which can go into them actually giving you money for lender fees to buy down that 6.5 interest rate that they're mentioning there.
Oh wow. Hold on just a second. I had a question. So, and I don't want this to go over any buyers' heads or my veterans or your anyone, right? I so you say that a 2-to-1 buy down. Can you explain that a little bit in depthly?
Absolutely, absolutely. So basically, with the buy down program, what you're able to do is you're able to decrease the interest rate for a period of time. So
Okay.
instead of taking that 6.48 interest rate, the lender is going to have some different credits where you can apply some funds to buy down into the 2-to-1 buy down program. So let's say that
Mhm.
costs you $5,000 to do that. Okay, so you spend $5,000 and now the lender is able to give you 4% interest rate for the first year, 5% for the second year, and then that third year it would go back to that 6% interest rate. Now, the way we're thinking about it in a market here now is that by the time you get to that third year, you might be able to refinance into a 30-year fixed mortgage that's a lot less than that 6.5%. So you
Mhm.
took advantage of coming in at a very low interest rate, and then now you never hopefully have to hit that 6.5% in that third year. So the goal would be to refinance before you get to that point.
Hold on now. That sounds like some real jewelry, some real gems right there. So you're saying now with that, that's a different loan product than normal, right? That's a loan product.
Absolutely,
That's an arm,
absolutely. So,
right?
so that's going to be a specialty loan product, right? So, I know everybody
Right.
heard of before, 2008. There was a lot of predatory lending, and they had those different programs. The good thing about the buy down and why you will be safe in that type of program is that they make sure, based on your income, you actually qualify for the mortgage still, based on what that price point would be at that 6.5%, for example. So if it does jump up
Mhm.
to that in that third year, you had to already have enough income to qualify for that. Where they got in trouble in 2008 is that they were giving people these teaser interest rates, and the people didn't make enough money to actually qualify to pay the mortgage once it ballooned up to that higher amount. So now they're
Yeah.
making sure that even though you're taking advantage of having a lower payment by having a lower interest rate, you still have enough money coming in on a monthly basis to actually pay for that mortgage if it does in fact jump up to that 6% rate if you're not able to refinance beforehand.
Yeah, I think after that crisis there, the real estate crisis, the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they really put some criteria in place where you need to be able to afford your property, right? We run a lot of VA loans here, but also other loans as well. So with different loan products like that, I definitely think you're on a good pathway to see success there after we're out of this tailwind here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and then, again, you can definitely do the 2-to-1 buy down. That's just another tool in your toolbox, right? So if you want to utilize that, you can. There's some other avenues you can do as well. You can actually just buy down
Mhm.
the rate in the form of a 30-year fixed mortgage. So what I mean there, instead of taking that a 6.5 interest rate, you might be able to use some seller credits or some funds that you have yourself to go ahead and, you know, spend $10,000 maybe to buy down the interest rate to 5.5%, right? And to make you comfortable over the next 30 years. It's really going to be based on your individual decision. Now, as the article continues to go into, and they talk about builders actually dropping their prices. But another gem that I'm going to give you here is that builders are not only dropping prices, they have specialty interest rates where they might do a 2-to-1 buy down for you, but they also have lower fixed rates than you can get on the market. So if the market rate right now is 6.5%, as alluded to, the builder might give you 5% or 4.75% because they want to come off that inventory. They don't want to be holding inventory. So that's another avenue to explore if you're in those price range to qualify for a new home. Go ahead and look at that, and they have some different incentives. Now, before Kenneth Davis comes in here, I want to make sure that you guys, when you're shopping new homes, bring a real estate agent with you. Never go in there by yourself because people do that all the time and then they call me afterwards. I can't help you at that point, right? You have to come in there with me if you want me to be able to help you negotiate everything with that new builder.
So go to kayvonjones.com so they can go ahead and schedule an appointment to go to the new build so you can again accompany them throughout that process so they don't have to deal with the haggling, the hassle, just the difficulty just to send just to see a property, right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'll navigate all that red tape for you because ultimately that agent in there that's nice. They offer you some water. Sometimes they got some snacks. They represent the
Cookies,
builder. They not in there representing you.
Yeah, we always want to have somebody represent a good one, not just representing, but good representation to go ahead and have your first, obviously have your interest in mind. So that's good news. But make sure again that this portion here, when we're talking about new builds is, I think, are a great opportunity for some with master plan communities. I remember you were kind of delving off into that with offerings of swimming pools and different things of that nature. Those communities are included when we're talking about this pullback, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Pretty much all the new communities are struggling to sell homes. I mean, we look here from the article, they down 59% in their sales, so they have a whole lot of cancellations, and they looking to come off that inventory. And in those communities, master plan communities, they have parks, pools, different things like that. And some of the homes that the builders are selling are those model homes, which are done up
Mm.
really nicely, and they might even
Yeah.
have a pool in your backyard. So you got a whole lot of options.
Wow. Yeah. That is some options, man. I would love a
Absolutely.
pool in the backyard, but it seems like a little bit of work for me.
It's definitely some work, man. It's definitely some work. But yeah, definitely it was a good article to take a look at and sort of just
Mhm.
understand, man, our options when we're looking at properties. And, you know, again, my information is here below. If you want to go here in Las Vegas and you're looking for a property, I'm your guy. Reach out to me. Even leave some comments below. You might have some questions that could benefit the whole community, and I'm here to serve all in all, man. Look
All
out
right.
for the next segment. We'll actually be talking about income in Las Vegas and certain decision making. Can you actually even afford a home right in Las Vegas based on where you're working and whether you've been to college and the job opportunities. Man, we about to come and give you a lot of information, man. Check out the next segment. Until then, we out. Peace.
Look for the gems.
Covered a lot of stuff here today on this episode. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Definitely like, comment, and subscribe. And, really join our community, man. We in here really just trying to add value any way we can. Let us know other ways we can add value. And now when we're talking about value, man, we really getting into the whole economics of things, right? And I know
Mhm.
we talked a lot today about funding, right? Just basically permanent and total disability benefits. We talked about resources for uh, spouses and also dependents to actually go back to school and utilize those resources and
Mhm.
benefits that our service connected veterans can get. We talked about the real estate market and how it's down and determining when to buy. But ultimately, when we're talking about economics, man, we really have to just look at affordability and just the whole workforce development crisis that we have here, man. And first, Mr. Davis, I wanted to kind of ease into the conversation because for some it can be a tough decision to decide whether you want to go to college, as a younger person, or even when you're getting out the military, whether you want to go to college as a veteran, right? And
Yeah.
start a second career and kind of what you're doing in that whole avenue, man. So I really want to commend you on what you did with starting the Veterans for Veterans business and kind of really growing yourself doing that. But I want to really ask you, how did you actually make the initial decision to join the Navy, right? Join the military. And then how did all your decisions actually lead you up until this point?
Man, good question, man. Listen, ultimately, it's all about your circle, right, and your friend group, the people that you lean on, during these tough decisions. I had a really, really good friend group, and also, family as well. So, I again, one fella that was in my corner, we were shopping options at being able to, either go to the military or college or, I also was thinking about sports as well. Even visiting colleges among sports as well. So I just had a lot to juggle. I had to figure it out. After, much deliberation and just really just speaking with some of the people in my corner and getting good counsel. you know it was kind of a decision that I made to go to the military ultimately, because it was one, not only did my friend group were amazing in providing information, even setting up conversations with people, but it was, even with that, a lot of people kind of steered me away from the military.
Mm,
I decided to go. I went in at, I believe, 19 years old, right? 18, 19 years old. And then, but I always knew I was going into the military with the mindset of I was going for, education benefits, education money. That was it. It was nothing else. I was going in specifically for that. And I had an end goal. I had a finite goal. So with that in mind, I've always, kept that in the back of my mind. Even I went through school throughout that time frame. So with that made my decision for me, was again my family, friend groups, and also my options that I had on the table.
absolutely, man. No, that's great. And and that's really interesting, right? And it kind of grinds my gears a little bit that people would discourage you from military service. I know I was discouraged from military service myself when I was in that same process making a decision. But it's very interesting what the things that we're encouraged to do, right? As a youth. And really, it's like everybody's pushing, like, okay, go to college. But it's like, what if you don't know what you want to do? I mean, if you're not trying to be a doctor, lawyer, nurse, or engineer, you might not make any money going to college.
Yeah, and that's just the truth, man. I think we get so hell bent on putting education first. You need to monetize education.
All right.
We have to monetize education. Education is great. I learn. I try to learn something new every single week. If I'm not learning something new every single week, a month, I try every day. To be honest with you, but if I'm not learning something every single week, that means particularly I'm not doing enough. But with that being said, you have to monetize your education. It's just
Absolutely.
that's where that's what we I think that's where we miss as a community, and we discourage people who are trying to monetize education. All right. And again, you go to school. We're talking about going to school for business management, right? That was a really popular when I was in college. Well, when I was making the decision to go to college, that was a popular degree to go get business manager, business administration, marketing. But some of these people had no traits in business, or not.
Absolutely.
They didn't even find interest in it. So why would you
Absolutely.
go do that?
Yeah. I mean, not to mention, right, a lot of the professors that are teaching those programs, no shade, but you never owned a business, bro. You like,
I mean, yeah, just and it's not saying you can't teach the basic fundamentals or the basic foundation principles, but I'm gonna be honest with you. For myself, if I'm learning from someone, I rather go do on the job training who is actually a practitioner in the field rather than in the classroom to just listening and reading a book.
absolutely. I mean, because really think about it, right? And it's like, even in our, in our community, a lot of people look up to athletes, for example. So I use an athlete as an example.
Hmm.
Shaquille O'Neal, right? A lot of people, families of athletes push still get your degree, even though you going to the NBA, you need something to fall back on, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, Shaq already made $100 million, and he went back to school to finish his degree at LSU, I believe, and then got into University of Phoenix, getting a master's and all this sort of thing. And maybe that's just a professional, personal goal for him, which is dope that he made those accomplishments, right? But when
Yeah.
you think about how it's pushed by your family member to fall back on, it's like, dude, I'm going to school. I'm only going to college for my ability to play basketball. Otherwise, they wouldn't have accepted me to this college, for one. And then for two, you know, what am I falling back on, because I'm getting a communications degree anyway from this college? You know what I mean? So it's like, even if I get this sheet of paper and if the NBA don't work out, yeah, I got this sheet of paper, but I'm not going to be able to do anything with that. If anything, I would be able to monetize my experience as an athlete and my network of people that I met throughout that process to
Mm,
facilitate going into broadcasting or starting my own business, and people been able to help me with funding and resources because of my network. That's really going to determine your net worth, all in all. And for those individuals, that's ultimately, if the professional sports don't work out for them, that's what they really need to do. And when you talk about monetizing education, that's part of it.
yeah, no, and I think you kind of really hit it, because when we talk about athletes, or when we talk about artists or performers, right, on different things of that nature, like what comes to mind for me, it's not I'm not invisible to it, right? These people are kind of ingrained in the culture, right? If they're being ingrained in the culture, but you also have to look at people that will most reflect, or that you are most alike, to be able to put in position to grow yourself. For me, again, there's so many different people that I can say that impacted me. But when we see people like Swiss Beats, I think he's again an amazing guy in the sense of his business acumen, and then also never being fulfilled in the world of knowledge. He went back to school, to Harvard Business School, after making millions, and never had to go ahead and never had to do anything if he chose not to, but still wanted to grow himself. And I just think that's incredible. So, to play God's advocate, some people are just doing it to push themselves, right? Push
Absolutely.
themselves to a
Absolutely.
higher platform.
Yeah, I mean, and that's dope to push yourself. I mean, I've even kind of flirted around with the option of getting a doctorate myself, right? And but I just look at where I am in growing my business and how that would just stagnate my process, as far as, being married and my relationship, with my family. That's just extra time commitment that's taking me away from getting to the goal of money. So then it's like I
Mm,
have to reflect on, okay, well, why am I looking to do that? Like literally, this is by me going and making this decision to pursue this, it's gonna be dope, and I could market it. K
mhm.
Doctor KJ MBA now, not no
Ooh,
longer
whoa,
KJ MBA,
whoa.
Doctor KJ MBA. So
Hey, you already see it reflecting there. NBA and PA. Don't sell yourself short now.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, for sure. So it's definitely something that I consider, but I'm just like right now, I think growing my business and really doing that is a priority for me that kind of trumps that education opportunity of me pursuing that is not going anywhere. I'm still a
Mhm.
pretty young guy, you don't see any gray hairs in my beard, so I'm good as far as that goes, just as far as from
Uh,
an age perspective, time is on my side. But
mhm.
yeah, I mean, it really just again gets back to the conversation that we're having, and just people actually persuading young people from pursuing their passions, from pursuing alternative sources, whether it is the military, whether it's vocational training, whether it's starting their own business and utilizing those methods. And it's like the people that are telling these young people that, I'll be honest, a lot of times, and it's not a popular opinion to have, they're not where they want to be financially or professionally, but yet they have such a strong influence on our youth. It's like you have,
Mm.
teachers, and you have, these different programs, trios programs where a lot of low income students in our community come from, where it's like the counselors for that. And I even use myself as an example. It's like I used to be a college counselor, a college admissions counselor, and a college recruiter. They was paying me $40,000 a year with a college degree, and I'm going to these high schools to recruit these kids from Desert Pines and all these places to come and go to school here. And it's like, college ain't do me no well, man. I got my degree and I'm only making $40,000 a year. I can't tell you what the right thing to do because my life ain't right at this juncture, right? But
Mm.
nobody is really giving these kids that information straight. Like, yo, this person that you talking to don't even have they stuff together, And it's like
Yeah.
these are the people that are mentoring our kids, and we wonder why they look at the athletes and the rappers and, for some people, the drug dealers on the corner as inspiration, because at least they see those individuals living their version of the best life, or at least striving to do so.
Yeah, and again, I go back and forth all the time when we talk about, well, if you didn't do college, where would you be, or different things of that nature. College was an experience. I think college is a I think everyone should at least do 2 years, for skill purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, man, college is it's a tough decision. And I piggyback on one of the things that you were mentioning in regards to inspiration, right? A lot of these people that they're looking for towards inspiration, they come from the same backgrounds or similar backgrounds, so trying to navigate that pathway, well, I want to be like this person. Man, listen, you got to understand, man. They're at the top. If you're watching them somewhere, well, not in this day and age, we're on YouTube and different things of that nature. But some of these YouTube people, they're YouTube
Millionaires,
content
yeah.
creators. They're at the top of their field. So, but most of these people, when you talk about the LeBron Jameses, when you talk about again, Carmelo Anthony's or old Carmelo Anthony, and these types of people, right? When we talk about these types of people, you got to understand they're at the top of their skill set. There's not too many people better than them,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And if there are, they're competing against them.
Hmm.
So we also have to take that into account. No one is working to get to that point. Everybody just wants to get there, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody just wants to get there, and it's incredible, that you're trying to skip processes. It's not that way. You have to go through the full entire life cycle of success. Some people hit it overnight, great to them, and some people, when they hit it overnight, they ultimately lose it all,
Hmm.
because of not going through the process of understanding how to get there, and not only standing how to get there, but also how to stay there in a form where it's comfortable for them. Because you can become ultimately successful and you hate your life.
Yeah.
And that could be something very serious for you. But in our community, I just think we put too much clout or value in someone in entertainment
Absolutely.
industry. I just think it's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
However, it's just something that needs to stop.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you most likely you ain't gonna be LeBron, Carmelo, or you may not be funny enough. Even if you are funny, you might not be talented enough in a sense and lucky enough from a business perspective to be Kevin Hart. Just because
But
you
you may
were
not
telling
even
good
work
jokes
hard
in a
enough.
classroom.
You may not even work hard enough. Kevin
Hmm.
Hart, man, I mean, when I tell you that, man, that's a person I look at like, man, he may not have it all together in a sense,
You're
again,
dealing with
it's
life
all life,
issues and
which
things.
no
Yeah.
one, no one does though,
Right.
right?
Nobody.
And I look and I'm like, man, gets up and give it 100% every single day. That's what you want to do every single
Right.
day. And he's
Yep.
working towards, again, being that professional, being the best of the best.
Yep. Shout out Eric Thomas, man. Give 120. Do you want it
That's
more than you want to breathe? You gotta
it.
gotta get into it, man. But literally, I think the message that's foremost in my mind is that making sure that you don't let anybody distract you from your goals and pursuing that and constantly doing that. So again, if you're a young person watching this, man, listen to your teachers. That if your teacher's an English teacher, listen to her about English and question everything else she say outside of that topic, because everybody doesn't have life figured out, man. And her
Yeah,
goal, she might have fell back and became an English teacher, he or she or whatever. But it's not even to criticize teachers, they're hardworking individuals, but just
we love
saying that, like, you really have to understand everything is nuanced and people are giving you advice based on their life experiences. So based on where this teacher or counselor is at, they only see a certain ceiling for you because they only see a certain ceiling for themselves. A lot of people telling the story about the grasshopper. You put a grasshopper in a jar, and after he been in the jar, he'll never jump higher than he could in that jar, even when you let him out that jar, because you put yourself in a box, and even when that box is gone, you remain complacent with being in the confines of that space.
and complacency is literally um the worst thing you can be, I believe, in so many aspects of life. Not being content, being complacent. Content and complacent are two different things. I want everyone to understand that. So when we're talking about being complacent, you can't be consistent and be complacent at the same time, right? You can't do it. So what I would ultimately want to make sure that the message is received when you're talking about complacency, it can be literally a portion that could be cut off, and you can kill your aspirations with complacency. So every
Absolutely.
time you get up, every single day, do anything that you can to be able to get you to that goal. And again, it may not work out in your expectation. However, don't let your expectation minimize your passion, right? So you have to work through it and go through it and continue to go through it and through it and through it. But find your passion and monetize that.
Absolutely, man. Monetize the passion, man. That's definitely it. And again, don't matter if you know, 17 or 70, man. Keep striving for your goals, striving towards your passion. And ultimately, if you are an influencer of younger people in your life, whether it's your kids directly or, nieces, nephews, or if you're work position has you influencing the youth, please don't keep giving them that same adage about just going to college, man, and that's going to be the best thing. Really let them know like the life experiences that you went through, because I wish I would have got into real estate a lot sooner than I did, man. Like, I graduated college in 2009. That's right after the housing crisis. Like, imagine if I would have got into real estate and after the first 2 years the Ken suggested to go to college, right? Or if I'd have got in even in 2010, 2011, how much further I would be in this space by having that
Mhm.
exposure. But again, I let other people's limiting beliefs of being a business owner and establishing that realm influence me to be like, oh no, you can't do that. It's like, no, you couldn't do that. But I'm definitely going to strive towards that. And now is a totally different environment. And 2023 is the time where so many resources that you definitely can do almost anything that you want to do career wise.
Anything you desire, and I think you really kind of put a opening message out there. Not letting other people limit your beliefs and also limit your knowledge. You have the full access to do anything you want. You know, I'm kind of again, I'm a millennial, but I'm kind of like on the back end when Generation X came. That's who raised me, right? So going into this aspect, I was still around when encyclopedias were there. When encyclopedias were there, that's what I had to use. We didn't have the age of the internet, so you can do anything or learn anything that you want,
Chat
but you have to also
GBT,
work.
baby.
Listen, AI is gonna. That's a whole nother conversation. We're not gonna get into that. But AI is definitely something that you can learn, and that's a skill set that you can actually monetize if you're into computers and technology and different things of that nature. Because it's coming at the end of the day. It's going to be something that you're going to be utilizing on a day to day basis. So if you can build a business around it to be able to monetize that, that's something that you should ultimately try to do. But I say all that to say to understand we're in the age of information, and we are here not to discourage anyone, but to open pathways and open eyes to understand that you can learn and do anything you really set forth to. All right, and also if you don't have a supporting cast, that's okay, because that supporting cast is not necessarily your end all be all. It's very difficult to navigate life without or with. Ultimately, the information is there. It's all about one, the drive and the desire. So make sure that you're always continuously putting yourself in position of power to ultimately receive that consistency, because motivation sways.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's so many resources, right? Like this podcast is a great resource for the things that we're just talking about, for your veteran benefits and building a community there, for buying your first home up into real estate investment. We're
Hmm.
very much so a wealth of knowledge for you. Eventually, at some point, we'll start talking about the stock market and really getting into and honing those different options. And, you know, there's so many different things that you can do. It's just like you got to strive for it. Like, don't let the first no be the last voice that you hear, right? Because even when you're applying for your benefits, you might have applied on your own and didn't get accepted the first time. Does that mean you never are going to be able to get your benefits? Absolutely not. Reassess the situation, reevaluate, do what you need to do, and keep going for that goal, man. Going after new goals. That's what we're doing all 2023. Definitely excited to continue on with the podcast and really kicking off information. We have a lot of information for you here down in the description. If you want to get in touch with either of us regarding real estate, veteran services, or just even just to drop some comments and talk about, life and trials and tribulations, man. We here for all of that. We're here for you. Reach out to us, man. Kenneth Davis, man. What else you got to say to the good people, man? Send us off.
Man, we're here to serve. We're here to serve ultimately. So if you're not serving yourself, your family, your community, or anything of that nature, it's not too late to do so. Let's always make sure that we're in the service to one another. But let's go ahead and get out of here, man. Listen, please join us again next time. So with that being said, we'll see you guys later.
See you later. Learn, grow, prepare to compete. We out. Peace.